Okay, we're gonna do a one take review of the new Tony movie directed by Matt Johnson. Um, Minimal prior research into the production of the film. Uh, so I already say prior to this recording. So the ambiance for tonight's review is that I just worked all day slinging coffees and like those espresso drinks all day on my feet. Um, that's my kitchen experience for you. I'm gonna put some pictures of latte art, and it's not my latte art, but I can definitely make something that looks exactly like that. That's my credentials for how good I am at this. Um, but I don't know. I I've always been a fan of Anthony Bourdain, I guess. I've always liked his TV shows, and we've always everyone finds that picture of him sitting at like that Parisian cafe with his cappuccino or whatever. I don't know. Cappuccino, cigarettes, and a baguette with his little sunglasses on. He's just so peaceful. Like, everybody wants to be that. Like, when I go to Europe, I want to be that. I'm not the only one that feels that way. You know, everybody loves his bleak humor, one could call it. Um, and I do appreciate his taste, I guess. I mean, he is the authority on good food. But anyways,
The movie.
so to prepare for this viewing of
The movie.
I decided to listen to Kitchen Confidential, which is something that's been on my Goodreads to be read list for a while. And I'm glad I listened to it because obviously Anthony Bourdain himself narrates it, which is quite endearing as well. So, and I knew the movie was just kind of about like the beginning of the book and with his time in Provincetown, Massachusetts, just kind of entering the culinary world. That's what he calls it. And uh let me tell you, I when I'm listening to the book, I was a lot more enthralled about just like listening to him talking about food and like not saying his narrative writing's bad. It's great, but like the narrative storytelling part was a little bit secondary for me. I just connected with it more within the aspects of the relatability and the starkness and his crude humor. That's what really kept it for me. Kept me intrigued, and it's a good book. I definitely recommend it to anyone who's ever worked in any kind of kitchen ever, or anyone who appreciates a little fine dining. So there's a lot of fine dining talk, I suppose. I I like sweetbreads. I'll say that. Shout out to my dear best friend for getting us to that one restaurant in Quebec City that had those sweetbreads. That changed my life. I'm not even big on like weird cuts of meat or anything like that, but that's like some of the best food I've ever had in my life or whatever. Anyways,
The movie.
Matt Johnson, he we obviously everyone loved the Nirvana movie. Sorry, I shouldn't say frickin'. The Nirvana movie was great, and it's just so surrealist in the nature, and so bizarre, and great narrative storytelling as well. Even though I did not have the prior context of the TV show going into it. I still loved it. Anyways, high bar that Matt Johnson has set for himself, and that between Matt Johnson and Anthony Bourdain, that is what brought me to the movie theater this past week. So let's set the scene. Got to go to an advanced screening of it that my friend and I had to RSVP for. Who doesn't love an advanced screening? Feels so special. So I spent all day getting tattooed, and then it's quite magical how this coincidence worked out. As a little breather, my friend and I went to the MFA in Boston real briefly before heading over to the showing, and you gotta support the arts, guys. The MFA Boston, excellent conservation work, excellent storytelling, excellent accessibility. If you haven't been, you must go. Besides the point, we make it to the screening, and I have to mention this, the guy behind us in line as we waited outside for the movie was yelling on his phone for at least half an hour to another friend of his, quite upset about, it seems like another friend was going to prison for drug trafficking, and he seemed confused why said friend who was going to prison didn't really seem to care about going to prison, and he was quite livid, and like, get a load of this guy. I was clowning on him quite a bit, because he's just yelling on the phone about this. Anyways, he ended up sitting next to me in the theater. He started talking to me a little bit about the movie, and I definitely kind of freaked him out because I was speaking in this terrible Gen Z lingo. I was so mentally fried, and I couldn't quite have appropriate words come out of my mouth to discuss the movie. And he definitely was looking at me a bit weird. So I guess the tables were turned. Once again, besides the point, the movie itself, it damn, maybe I'm like misremembering like the book wrong, or sorry, not, I'm misremembering the book, and like from my understanding, the movie, a lot of details were adjusted to fit a movie narrative better, which is fair. I respect that. You got to make this for like a wider audience, not just for those who are Kitchen Confidential purists here. So, cool, great. So the movie starts in Dominic Sassa, who I haven't watched anything he's in yet, plays Anthony Bourdain, and he's like kind of like this bug-eyed like creep. The entire movie, he just like looks kind of like creepy, and his like chin's like always tucked down towards his like chest a little bit, and he kind of stares at everyone, and his maybe my idea of young Anthony Bourdain in my head was just wrong on how I perceived him, but this was just an interesting take on how he might have been as a youngin. Anyways, it starts with Anthony Bourdain / Dominic Sessa at college, doesn't get a fellowship, blah blah blah. Chases the girl to Cape Cod, Provincetown, whatever, and I need to stay here for the girl to like me. Let me lie about the fellowship, blah blah blah. You know, kind of like the classic digging yourself into a hole with lies. And you know, what can one do? That's kind of the premise of the movie, I suppose. I don't think that's a spoiler per se, but that's kind of the conflict here. So obviously starts working in a kitchen with really minimal kitchen experience, cooking experience, out of desperation for housing and money or whatever. And like I said, maybe I'm remembering the book wrong, but I felt like when I'm listening to the book, he when he started working in a kitchen, he like kind of had more to bring to the table than this complete inexperience. So I mean, it was quite funny, even though I had higher expectations for his competency initially in the kitchen. Whatever. There's this really fantastic montage scene where they are getting into the flow for like the first time in the kitchen, and there's chaos and it's loud and it's just jolly good time. I thought that was very cool. It's probably the best part in the movie. Stavi's really funny, and oh, you know what, let's just talk about this like this blonde guy in here. This blonde guy. He's in like some other movies. I don't know his name. I'm sorry. He's the actor's really good at being unlikable, and I guess that's kind of the intention. He's just kind of like this dickhead. The antithesis of pure Anthony Bourdain, who doesn't know anything. And he plays a little bit of like an evil guide in a way, but I'm listening to the book about their debauchery and seeing it, but then seeing it translated in front of my eyes into a visual is quite stark. What do you call it? This toxic masculinity at its prime, I suppose. I mean, I get that's the character, but you know, I have this problem lately. Whenever I watch a movie, I just put a feminist lens on everything, and I happen to write off movies really quickly just because of that. But I'm trying really hard not to here, so I'm not going to. But it's quite, I guess it's quite entertaining. But you know, I'm not gonna get into it. Anyways, the actor's good. Whatever. It's kind of fun, kind of disturbing. The violence is stark. It's 2026. It's not time to be. We are past being desensitized to any kind of violence. Let's not normalize casual violence. But I mean, that's part of the story. I'm not saying it was inappropriate to put in the movie because it wasn't. But you know, let's not look past that. Let's learn something from that. Maybe I'm focusing on the wrong things here. The premise of the movie is like Anthony Bourdain has, at the end, he has to get the girl. He needs to get the girl who was taken by the other guy. You know, some chud. You know that from
The Anthony perspective, some chud guy who also works at the damn pizza shop with his future
wife. You know, they don't really make it clear in the movie that like he ends up marrying her. Here's the part that really got me. This is what my ultimate big claim about the thing is. This is like a straight love story. What carries the movie is that this is a love story over anything. And maybe my reading comprehension or listening comprehension is poor, but I feel like his wife hadn't been mentioned a whole lot in the book until a lot later, maybe like the last third of the book. He kind of refers to women in his life as like, oh, like passing girlfriends here, that like, or you know, just kind of not super relevant. I you know, that's not the point of the book, but the book is what the movie's about. I don't know, but you know, adjusting the story and changing it to a straight love story fit the wide audience. I don't know. I feel like the movie isn't really being marketed as that it's kind of a love story. So, I hope when this is given a wide release, maybe somebody else could point that out. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting upset about the wrong thing. Is this really review if I don't really know how I feel about it? No, that's how I feel about it. some other takeaways. Dominic Sessa. See, even though I call him kind of bug-eyed and creepy, he's kind of nice looking. He's kind of cute. But then, you know, when I was on the toilet earlier, taking a pee, I was scrolling on Letterboxd, and I click on his profile. He's 6 months younger than me. I feel like a creep. I feel like a creep. Well, who am I to say? That's okay. And I don't know, I guess my takeaway is that maybe I'll save some pictures of Dominic Sessa on my Pinterest. I guess. I rated the movie a 7 out of 10, or a 3.5 out of 5, if you can't do math. And would I recommend going to see this movie? Yes. Would I recommend reading or listening to the book? Absolutely. Oh, Matt Johnson, let me just say. I could kind of tell this movie was directed by you, but you could also tell me it was directed by anybody else and I would believe it. I wouldn't be mad if Matt Johnson continued kind of doing these big budget Hollywood-esque films. It'd be fine. I'd be glad somebody with his tenor is in the realm, I suppose. But don't forget to do the silly shit. The silly shit is what's beloved upon the niche community. I don't, maybe it's not niche. Go see Tony. Go support your local kitchen.